Le letture che abbiamo ascoltato suscitano in noi, in me, due parole.
The readings we have heard elicit two words in me: expectation and surprise. Waiting expresses the meaning of life because we live in expectation of the encounter with God, which is the reason for our intercessory prayer today, especially for the cardinals and bishops who have died during this past year, for whom we offer in suffrage this Eucharistic sacrifice. We all live in expectation, hoping one day to hear those words of Jesus addressed to us: "Come, you blessed of my Father." We are in the waiting room of the world to enter heaven, to partake of that banquet for all peoples, of which the prophet Isaiah told us. He says something that warms our hearts, because he will bring to fruition the very fulfillment of our greatest expectations. The Lord will remove death forever and wipe away tears on every face. Then we will be able to say, "This is the Lord, in whom we have hoped. Let us rejoice. Let us exult in his salvation." Yes, we live in expectation of receiving goods so great and beautiful that we cannot even imagine them, because, as the Apostle Paul reminds us, we are heirs of God, co-heirs with Christ, and we wait to live forever. We wait for the redemption of our bodies. Brothers and sisters, let us nourish our waiting for heaven. Let us exercise our desire for heaven. It does us good today to ask ourselves whether our desires have anything to do with heaven. If our desires have to do with that of heaven, because we are in danger of continually aspiring to things that pass, of confusing desires with needs, of putting the expectations of the world before the expectations of God. But to lose sight of what matters in order to chase the wind would be life's greatest mistake. Let us look upward, for we are on our way upward, while the things down here will not go up there. The best careers, the greatest achievements, the most prestigious titles and accolades, the accumulated riches and earthly gains, all will vanish in a moment, and any expectations placed in them will be forever disappointed. Yet, how much time, effort, and energy we spend worrying and saddening about these things, letting the tension toward home fade, losing sight of the meaning of the journey, the goal of the journey, the infinity to which we tend, the joy for which we breathe. Let us ask ourselves, do I live what I say in the Creed? I await, that is, the resurrection of the dead and the life of the world to come. And how does my waiting go? Do I go to the essentials? Or do I go and get distracted in many superfluous things? Do I cultivate hope, or do I go on complaining because I value too much so many things that do not matter? In waiting for tomorrow, we are helped by today's gospel, and here emerges the second word I would like to share with you: surprise. For great is the surprise every time we listen to Matthew chapter 25. It is similar to that of the protagonists who say, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and give you food, or thirsty and give you to drink? When did we see ever you as a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and come to visit you? When did we ever? Thus is expressed the surprise of all, the astonishment of the righteous and the dismay of the unrighteous. Whenever, we might say too, we would expect judgment on life and the world to take place under the banner of justice before a decisive tribunal that, sifting through every element, would shed light on situations and intentions forever. Instead, in the divine tribunal, the only head of merit and indictment is mercy toward the poor and discarded. Whatever you did to one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did to me, Jesus judges.
L'Altissimo sembra che sta nei più piccoli.
The Most High is in the least. He who inhabits the heavens dwells among the most insignificant to the world. What a surprise. But the judgment will take place in this way because it will be Jesus, the God of humble love, the one who, born and died poor, lived as a servant, who will issue it. His measure is a love beyond our measures, and his standard of judgment is gratuitousness. So, to prepare ourselves, we know what to do, to love gratuitously and without tiring, without waiting for reciprocation. Those who are on his list of preferences, those who can give us nothing back, those who do not attract us. The Holy Father is speaking about a letter that he received, a letter this morning from a chaplain, a Protestant chaplain from Ukraine, telling the stories about the orphan children who are abandoned. And he spoke about his service. These discarded Ukrainian children who have lost their parents and are left alone. This man is doing now what Jesus is asking him to do, to take care of the little ones in these tragedies. And when I read this letter written with so much pain, it made me emotional. Because showing that the Lord inspires the true values of his kingdom. The Pope says when, that it astonished when, which returns 4 times in humanity's questions to the Lord, comes late, only when the Son of Man comes in his glory. Brothers, sisters, let us also not be surprised. Let us be very careful not to sweeten the taste of the gospel, for often, out of inconvenience or comfort, we tend to tone down Jesus' message, to water down his words. Let's face it, we have gotten pretty good at compromising with the gospel. Feeding the hungry, yes, but the issue of hunger is complex, and I certainly can't solve it. Helping the poor, yes, but then injustices have to be dealt with in a certain way, and then it is better to wait, also because to commit, then you risk always being disturbed, and maybe you realize that you could have done better. To be close to the sick and the imprisoned, yes, but on the front pages of newspapers and on social media, there are other more urgent problems. So why do I have to take an interest in them? Welcoming migrants, yes, but it is a complicated, general issue.
Accogliere i migranti, sì, davvero, però è una questione generale, complicata, riguarda la politica.
It concerns politics.
Non mi immisco in queste cose, sempre i compromessi.
So always these compromises.
Sì, ma no.
So yes, 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 but no, no, no. These are the gospel compromises that we do.
Tutto sì, ma alla fine tutto no.
All yes, but at the same time always all no.
Sì, a forza
And
di
so,
ma e di però,
by these but,
a volte siamo uomini.
and we're being human,
A forza di ma e di però, facciamo della vita un compromesso col Vangelo.
we make life a compromise with the gospel.
Di complessità.
From simple disciples of the Master, we become teachers of complexity who argue a lot and do little, who seek answers more in front of the computer than in front of the crucifix, on the internet rather than in the eyes of our brothers and sisters, Christians who comment, debate, and expound theories, but do not even know a poor person by name, have not visited a sick person for months, have never fed or clothed someone, have never befriended someone in need, forgetting that the Christian's program is a heart that sees, as Benedict XVI had said. When have they ever? Both the righteous and the unrighteous ask themselves surprised,
Oggi, all'uscita di questa Eucaristia, adesso, oggi, sta nelle nostre mani, nelle nostre opere di misericordia.
The answer is only one. The one is now. It lies in our hands, in our works of mercy, not in polished paintings and analyses, not in individual or social justifications. It's in our hands. We are responsible. Today, the Lord reminds us that death comes to make truth of life and removes all extenuating circumstances for mercy.
La morte giunge a fare verità sulla vita e rimuove ogni attenuante alla misericordia. Fratelli,
Brothers and sisters, we cannot say we do not know. We cannot confuse the reality with makeup. The gospel explains how to live the waiting. We go to meet God by loving because He is love. And on the day of our farewell, the surprise will be happy if we now allow ourselves to be surprised by the presence of God, who waits for us among the poor and the wounded of the world. We shouldn't be afraid.
La sorpresa del Vangelo attende.
The surprise of the gospel is waiting for us. He is waiting to be caressed, not with words, but with deeds.